Welcome to part 2 of our The One Ring series, everyone. This game was a thrill to create a group for with Stef and James, and we come up with a really solid group of characters that has a lot of great story potential, if I say so myself. But before we get to the episode, here's what's coming up in our call to action after the show.
After the show, join us back here for some thoughts about the episode. We will also go over our standard of asking for reviews, as well as asking you to support us on Patreon. And we will have a sneak peek of another bonus episode coming to our Patreon relatively soon. We do need your help in order to help cover the cost of the show, especially at this point in time. You can head over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast if you would like to check out the Patreon and take a look while listening to the episode. We are about 1/3 of the way to our goal for each month, so every little bit helps. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show.
On the last episode of Character Creation Cast, Stef was creating a hobbit, James was creating a dwarf, Amelia was creating a man of Bree, and I was creating an elf of Linden. We're picking up right where we left off last time. Enjoy.
So after we've recorded our combat proficiencies, the next step is choosing distinctive features. So there should be right underneath combat proficiencies in your culture, distinctive features. And for instance, for the dwarf, I get to choose 2 from this list: cunning, fierce, lordly, proud, secretive, stern, wary, or willful.
Ooh.
And distinctive features.
It goes up at the tippy top under your name.
Oh, under the thing that says features?
Yeah. So they're listed on page 67 in the book.
Okay, thank you.
And mechanically, distinctive features are useful because when making a skill check, if you can invoke a distinctive feature, like come up with a reason why your distinctive feature would impact your skill check, you get to make, you get what's called inspiration, which is different in this game than in other games, but essentially it gives you an extra success die when spending hope. So normally when you spend a point of hope, you get 1 extra D6, but if you can invoke a distinctive feature, you get 2.
Okay.
I'm going to choose keen-eyed for my hobbit, because I think that seems like a good thing. They got to be able to see, the food and ale around the place. Right. Yep. See your crops, see all the village gossip that's happening. Keen-eyed. Yeah.
All right. So I get to pick 2. I feel like I'm going to go with...
Oh, shoot. You're right.
Cunning. Because I feel like that makes sense with my... Your wit is sharp and you are ready to use it to your advantage. I feel like that goes with my riddles.
Totally. Yep.
Yes. That's great.
All right. I'm going with Mary.
Aw.
Of course.
I'm also going to go with inquisitive because I feel like that's good.
Yeah. And I'm really leaning into my big dumb dwarf here. So I'm going with fierce and proud.
Ooh, I love it.
Ooh, nice. Ooh.
I think I'll go with Mary and fair.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm attractive even for an elf. And Mary, I am, my spirit is not easily discouraged. I can find light in the darkest of shadows.
Oh, that's great.
That's lovely. And like even that that's a great example of the language that was very deliberately done in this book. That sounds like it's directly out of the Lord of the Rings. Absolutely. Right? That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Steph, did you mention the thing that Francesco said about the attributes?
No, because I wasn't sure we were going to talk about it at the end, but yes, yeah. Let's talk about it now. So the strength, heart, and wits thing comes, those are your attributes. And we watched a little interview with Nerd of the Rings, which is the really excellent YouTube channel. If you're interested in Tolkien stuff that he did with Francesco Nepatello, the writer, the creator of this game. And Francesco said that he chose these as the attributes very deliberately, strength, hearts, and wits, based off of a quote that Gandalf said. It's from the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, right after, like when they're sitting in Bilbo's house after Bilbo's gone, and Gandalf is telling Frodo, like, you need to destroy, like, the ring needs to be destroyed in the cracks of Mount Doom. And poor Frodo is like freaking out. And he says, why was I chosen? And Gandalf says, such questions cannot be answered, said Gandalf. You may be sure that it was not for any merit that others do not possess, not for wisdom at any rate. But you have been chosen, and you must therefore use such strength and heart and wits as you have. And so, like, that is beautiful. It's taken directly from
that.
Yeah.
Right? It's so cool. It's so intentional.
I love when games are so, like, thoughtfully designed like that. That it's not just like, I don't know, strength sounds good. Strength is a thing they use in games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are strong.
There is intention.
Great.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right. So now that we've gotten our distinctive features, the next step and the last step that comes from your culture is your name and age.
Oh, bless this book for putting names in here.
Yes.
God.
Love it.
Yeah. And as a GM, whenever I need to come up with an NPC name, I just go to the culture and I just grab a name from the list, and it makes things so much easier. I have yet to make an elf named Lamp Mick Desk Face. So this has been quite
great. That's great.
Oh no. Okay. Oh, these are great names. I'm gonna use names from here because I think that's fun.
Do elves get last names?
Yes.
Yeah, elves. I'm sure Jude has a whole episode on this. They have like mother names and father names, and then they have a name that they get like later in life that describes kind of something cool that they did. So like there's a lot of names you can choose from.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because when I was looking through, I saw the hobbits have a family names, which makes sense. You know, Bilbo Baggins and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I know family and whatnot is super important to the Hobbit culture and everything, but like
exactly.
And then the Men of Bree have family names listed there too, but all the other ones do not, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I think the way that Elven names work is that like your mother name is sort of used at a certain part of your life, and then your father name is sort of used at a certain part of their lifespan, and then their kind of assumed name is used, you know what I mean? So it changes. So I think like you, depending on the age of your elf, right? Like what age of Tolkien's land were you, when are you a super old elf? Or are you kind of a newer elf, right? You can choose that for yourself, which is kind of neat if you want to. These names for the hobbits are charming AF. I'm going to be called Gilly Goodbody. Because that's perfect.
Well, I think I'm going to go with Knob Heathertoes. So,
yes, Knob Heathertoes.
Knob Heathertoes.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm going with a Laurelin for my elf.
Ooh, that's cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yay.
I had picked one. I'm actually going to change it. My dwarf's name is Drifa.
Dwarf McDwarf face.
No, I decided I wanted to make a female dwarf. So I originally picked a male name, but I'm going to choose a female name instead. So my dwarf's name is Drifa.
Drifa.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, we're about to see our first female dwarf in the Amazon series, The Rings of Power. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Who's actually from, who is a real canon character named Disa, which is dope. So that's, oh boy.
Very nice.
I'm excited. Did you say your name is Laurelin?
Laurelin, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's one of the names of the two trees. If the Athrabeth logo has these two trees, and the gold one is named Laurelin, and that is where the sun comes from. So that's a perfect name for your shiny, beautiful, happy dwarf. Yeah. Or sorry, not dwarf, elf.
Elf. Close enough. that'll wrinkle some feathers in the fandom.
Can you imagine?
If we haven't already, I mean.
Doesn't know what a dwarf is. Yeah.
So just for my record, Steph and Amelia, what were your names again?
Knob Heathertoes. How could you forget?
And my name is Gilly Goodbody.
Oh, these are such good names. I love this. Knob. Mm-hmm. Was that with the silent K? No,
N-O-B, knob.
Oh, amazing. Oh, wow. Even better.
It's in the book.
Yeah, you pay the letter. We don't need a silent K. Get that right out. What's your name again, James?
So my dwarf's name is Drifa, and I'm actually going to add. So one of the things, like we know from like Balin, son of Funden, that they're big into like, this is my name, and then instead of having a last name, it's this person's kid. So it's Drifa, daughter of Gisla.
Oh, awesome!
Nice,
Gisla. Nice. I'm writing that down just in case I need to contact Gisla about any bad behavior. That we see along the road.
So we were talking a bit about age as well here. And elves are immortal. But this particular batch of elves, it seems, well, first of all, they quote unquote reach adulthood within the elven society at the age of, the spry age of 100.
Right.
And you don't see many adventuring elves of Linden because after 300 years of age, they have a mighty need to travel west out across the seas.
Right.
So I was thinking, I don't want to be close to 300, but I don't want to be close to 100 either.
So 200 it is.
No, I was thinking like 147.
Great.
Yeah.
14.
Not 169?
So
no.
I mean, you can even go harder if you want. So Círdan, you're like the boss of Linden. I think around the time of Lord of the Rings, he was like 7,000 years old. Remember, you can live like thousands of years if you want to. So, but I like the idea of you being like a baby elf.
Yeah.
Like an elf born in the twilight of the Third Age is so fascinating because they won't like, you may not, you haven't maybe felt that call yet. I like that. You're still very much planted in Middle Earth, right? That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And probably would explain why she is going out to see Middle Earth before, that calling hits.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
That was the thing from the books, right? Like, isn't there a part where Legolas is like, oh crap, I heard seagulls. Now I need to go. Now I have this unquenchable desire to go west. Right? Isn't that a thing?
It's a thing. It is. There's different, there's different without going too far into the weeds, there's different kinds of elves and different kinds of elves based on like when they woke up and whether they came back and did a thing and went over here and blah, blah, blah. But one thing that it says about, one group of elves that I wonder if you could kind of say for all things is that the sound of the whole world, Tolkien's entire world, the universe, was created when when God, quote unquote, whose name is Eru Ilúvatar, made this music, right? So he made this fancy music, and from the music sprung the universe and the world of Arda and everything. So it is said that the purest way for you to hear the music of Eru is to listen to the sounds of water, because that's where that song still lives. And so a lot of elves, or at least specifically the Teleri, but other elves I feel like as well, you could argue, are hearing, that's the closest they can be to their god, right? Is hearing the waves and sailing back to Valinor in the west. So maybe that's where that comes from.
That's very cool.
So think about Círdan as a character. Remember, his job was to make the ships that the elves used to sail over the sea, right, and back to their land of Valinor. So he is literally like on, and like Linden, the Grey Havens is on the coast. So that guy is 1 million billion years old. He's like lost a lot of his friends. right? By this point in the third age. And he's constantly being called home, but he won't leave because he wants to make sure that everybody else can get home first. And like, that's so beautiful and sweet and touching. And I don't know. I just think that's great.
Yeah.
I think then you position Laurelyn, your character, Ryan, like in that. Wow, that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Kiernan.
I know. I just felt a little pang. Like I got a little emotional when you were talking about him being, the last one. That's really, it's very Tolkien. I don't know. He just gets you,
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of the reason why I'm very excited for this Amazon show coming out, because it is going to expand the world so much. And there are so many wonderful stories to tell and characters that are just waiting for everybody under the surface, like in the Legendarium, that now everyone's going to be, be able to see and be more accessible, which I think is great. Yeah. Huzzah.
What else do we have?
Right.
Okay, so I think I've done all my things.
Yeah.
What do we do next?
So the
James?
next thing, so now that we've done that, the next step, so we've essentially built from our culture the basics of these characters. So the next thing that we add on top of this is the calling. A calling is basically your starting drive, the reason that pushes you out of your comfort zone to become an adventurer. I'm reading this right out of the book. It's not meant to represent a profession or a trade, but the sum of their ambitions and aspirations that put them on the road. So you can kind of think of it a little bit like a D&D class, but rather than like cleric, where it's like, I am a priest and I do, blah, blah, blah. This is the calling, the thing that drives your character. Rather than like, this is my job.
And so what are the choices?
Yeah. So there are 6 callings listed in the book. They are captain, which is, essentially like a leader of people. I think a great example from the book would be, Aragorn, I think would fall into this.
Or even Boromir. Well, maybe not.
No, absolutely.
Maybe.
Champion, which is somebody whose focus is, opposing the shadow, by strength of arms, like a warrior, somebody, something like that. Messenger. This is somebody who's driven by connecting the people, like you're driven to connect the free people of Middle Earth. It's your duty to travel to distant lands, carrying tidings and warning people of the coming danger. Scholar, which is, relatively self-explanatory. This is a person who's driven by the desire to get more, to learn, to get more information, to collect songs and tomes and things like that. Treasure hunter, somebody driven by wanting to get the storied treasure of old that is out there in the world. And then warden, which is somebody who's driven to protect those who can't protect themselves.
How is that different than champion?
So a champion is somebody who is, a warrior who is driven to proactively go out and fight against the forces of darkness. A warden, I think this from their description, this sounds like it's perhaps a little bit more geared or would typically be more geared towards somebody playing like a ranger who's sworn to, give up civilized society to go out into the wilds and protect the people who, who are out there, who may not even know they're in danger. I think that from what they're writing here in the book, it sounds like, the rangers who are guarding the borders of the Shire, the hobbits don't even know that they're being protected, but those rangers would sort of fall into this calling.
Cool. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. A champion is more like, I'm here doing a thing for you. You're welcome. Yeah. And a warden's like, I'm just in the background. Don't even look at me. I'm just here. I'm just here. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I wonder what I should be as a hobbit. I mean, I could be anything, I guess.
Yeah.
Meet Morp. What are you going to do as a dwarf? Do you know?
I mean, the easy choice would be just to go something like champion. Just stay on the dumb, like charging into battle aspect.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I've got one in mind for myself.
Ooh, what are you thinking?
I was between messenger and warden.
Mm-hmm.
And I think warden would be more interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Mm-hmm. I love that.
things that I was kind of looking at before as favored skills, and that'll be interesting. Plus the whole so the warden's the protection against the shadow. So you kind of know more about the shadow than other people.
Totally. That makes perfect sense. I like that. Ooh. Warden is such a cool idea. I love that. Someone in the shadows, taking care of business every day. I'm not sure what I will choose. I want to choose last because I want Amelia to be able to choose first. So many good options.
I know.
What are you going to do, Amelia? Do you know?
I'm kind of feeling messenger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes really a lot of sense for a person from Bree.
Yeah.
Lots of road access and people passing through, giving messages, getting messages.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Cool.
That sounds good.
All right, I'm going to go for treasure hunter then, because I feel like a hobbit. I'm like shiny things.
That's very cool. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just going to keep going straightforward, no nuance, champion.
Okay.
So we got one person that knows how to fight.
I love it. I love it.
Thank goodness.
All right, so
from your calling, we get a few things. So you get 2 more favorite skills. There should be a list of ones to choose from. You pick 2 from that list and mark them as favored. Like for the champion, I get to choose between athletics, awe, and hunting, and then mark those as favored.
Okay. And it looks like for warden, I can choose between awareness, healing, and insight. And I have 0 points in insight right now. So I kind of just chose healing and awareness. Healing because I wanted it. I've got 1 point in that, so this will help me heal better anyway. And then awareness because I've already got 2 points in it. So I figured might as well be really good at it.
That makes sense. The one thing I will say, if you have 0 points in a skill, you can still make a roll for it. You would just then roll only your feat die, the D12s. And even if your target number is higher than a 10, you can always roll a Gandalf rune on the feat die, which is an automatic success. So it might sometimes pay to mark a skill that you don't have any points in as favored, because then you double your chance of hitting a Gandalf.
Oh, that's fair.
So I can choose between courtesy, song, and travel.
Ooh.
I don't know. I picture this character as somebody that doesn't really want to go anywhere. So I don't think I'm going to pick travel. I think I'm going to pick courtesy. Actually, I already have 3 there, but I'm going to go ahead and pick it anyway.
Ooh,
Nice.
Super courteous.
Very courteous.
Super. For mine, for the treasure hunter, you choose between explore, scan, and stealth. And I already have stealth as a favorite skill from my heroic culture. So I'm going to go ahead and choose explore and scan.
Ooh.
Even though I have no dots in scan. So that means, as you just said, James, I would get 2 of the feat die.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And you would take the higher. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and scan is an interesting one. I mean, scan basically in this game sort of takes the place of like an active perception roll. Scan is you deliberately looking for something, versus I think there was another awareness, which is your sort of passive perception.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, so physics, so searching stuff out is scan. Gotcha.
Yeah, important for a treasure hunter.
Cool.
So after. Oh, and then, so for me, I got to choose between athletics, awe, and hunting. And I chose athletics and awe, just continuing to lean directly into my no nuance warrior character.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Awe is a cool one because it's like evoking respect, your first impression, wonder, or fear, right? So that's kind of cool for a dwarf. That's cool.
That is cool. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We also, from your calling, get an additional distinctive feature. So this should give you 3 total distinctive features.
Mine is burglary.
Ooh.
I'm good at pickpocketing, lock picking, and other shadowy ways to get a hold of positions from others. Ooh.
Mine is folklore.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
I've got shadow lore, which you have recognized that there is a hidden thread unifying most what is malicious, dark, and terrible in Middle-earth.
Ooh.
And that the thread is thickening year after year. Oh, spicy. A quality shared by the wise of the land. The truth behind this knowledge is becoming clearer as time passes. That's wonderful.
Yeah. That's a great hook too, to pull your character in, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think so for the champion, the distinctive feature is enemy lore, which means I get to choose from a type of enemy that it applies to, and I know more about that. So this one is really interesting because it kind of gives a little bit like of background to your character, depending on which enemy you choose as your sort of enemy that you know the most about. You can choose from evil men, orcs, spiders, trolls, wargs, and the undead. And each of those, I think, really sort of says, okay, well, in the past, you were doing something really interesting and very different. I'm going to choose trolls as my enemy lore.
That's dope. Yeah. That's great.
So trolls. Right off the bat, I have a hook now to figure out why my character would have been dealing with trolls.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Ooh, what capers did you get into? I feel like as a mountain person and someone traveling along the trails of the mountains and then the forest, you're likely to run into like a cave troll or right. Or even another kind of troll, forest, whatever.
Yeah.
Those persnickety Belrog trolls.
Oh, that's really bad. You definitely don't want to see one of those boys. Woo! Too hot.
And then the really annoying forum trolls.
Oh, internet trolls, Reddit trolls.
Actually, turn them all to stone.
I would be like horrible to play with if I had that as my like thing that I knew a lot about, because I'd be like, are they trolling us? To my game master all the time. Do I know anything about them because they're trolling us?
Oh my god.
Oh, the puns.
Yeah. And then the last thing.
What is the
So the last thing we get from our calling is the shadow path. And basically the shadow path is like a suggestion of how, like, based on, you say, remember, your calling is what has driven your character out on an adventure. As the shadow, capital S shadow, has more sort of impact on them, the shadow path is a suggestion for what direction they would take as they succumb to the shadow. So, you know, for the champion, for instance, my shadow path is Curse of Vengeance. So because so the champion is driven to, you know, they believe that the way to defeat the shadow is to go out there and fight it head on. As they become more corrupted by the shadow, by the darkness of the world, their desire to use their strength to combat the shadow also becomes just using their strength in ways that are, you know, that are harmful and in ways that are hurtful.
Yeah, in the later parts of the I guess not even that later, but yeah, there's ways to use flaws. So you can go and look up your shadow path and and then find like ways of using it. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want, but just to give you some ideas. Yeah. So like for mine, my one is Dragon Sickness, which is, you know, it's such a cool one. Yeah. You know, when it turns all gold to ash, right? So like so it's suggesting that I can become grasping. Like if you become grasping, you seek to accumulate gold and precious items above all else just for the sake of possessing them. Or I can become mistrustful or deceitful or thieving. So I love that. It's really very helpful. Yeah.
Take a look at Thorin from the end of The Hobbit for a great example.
Yes. Oh, a perfect example. Yep.
Mine is Wandering Madness.
Yeah.
Traveling far might be the duty chosen by a messenger, but it carries the risk of never finding a place to fight for. The road goes ever on and on, it's true, but whither then?
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. And for mine, I've got Shadow Path, the Path of Despair. So self-doubt is often the way that the shadow chooses to reach the heart of those who oppose it, for they know that the enemy is strong and terrible, and those that they protect are too naive or weak to fend for themselves. Every day they ask themselves, will my strength be enough to prevail? Oof. Or will I drag down the innocent in defeat?
Yikes.
Oh my God.
I love that. That's so sad.
I know.
Ah,
you can do it, Laura
no.
Lynn.
Don't be sad. It's okay. You're enough.
You're so happy normally. Come on. Is it just a mask? I hope not.
I believe in you. I want you to believe in you too.
You have to try Artex.
Oh, no.
Don't you dare. All of us millennials just got super traumatized.
Content warning.
I know. Too sad.
Never ending story. Yep.
So now that so that's what you get from your calling. The next step, so pretty much at this point, we've kind of got our bog standard characters. You've got what you get from your culture. You've got what you get from your calling. And were someone else to pick the exact same culture and calling, they would have almost the exact same character as you. So the next phase is to spend experience that you got from your previous life experience. So this is the phase where it denotes, the things that you were doing before now have shaped your character, and you have 10 experience points to spend to raise skills and combat proficiencies to represent that. So if you go to page 46 in the book, there are two tables. There's skill costs and combat proficiencies costs. And basically you have 10 points to spend to raise skills based on the costs in those tables. Okay. And this represents, the previous stuff that your character did that has, given them these skills or proficiencies.
I feel like my Hobbit has not had a lot of time to use combat proficiencies. So probably not gonna do too much with those. But yeah, there are some interesting skills in here. Could raise up. I'm definitely gonna give myself one scan, or maybe I'm gonna go from 0 to 1, which is 1 point, and then 1 to 2, which is 2 points. So I'm gonna use 3 points to get my scan going. I feel like as a burglar, I'm going to need that.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing for lore. I don't have anything in lore, so. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I raised my axes proficiency from 2 to 3 to really represent, being that warrior. And then I spent 1 point to raise my awareness, because I think that passive awareness of everything that's going on is important for a warrior. And then I spent 3 points to raise my enhearten to 2. Because I kind of want this character, even though they're just like a straightforward like warrior, I kind of want them to be a little bit of the sort of Gimli comic relief dwarf a little bit too. So, to be mindful of the emotional states of the rest of the party, even if they themselves don't have much emotional maturity.
Okay, that's cool. I like enhearten as a skill, the idea of inspiring others. Yeah, that's really great. I can also see that as like as you say, the champion or the captain or something like that.
Yeah.
Be really useful. I'm going to take my persuade from 2 to 3, which is another 3 points, because I don't know, sounds like a good plan.
Because why not?
Why not?
Because I'm not often right, but if you can persuade people into thinking you're right, it's fine. Everything's fine.
So I went with, I moved my Son up to 3 from 2. So that was 3 points. And then I moved healing from 1 to 3.
Oh.
So that was 5 points right there, which put me up to 8. So that means I had to spend 2 points elsewhere. I was debating between 1 point in a couple of skills or something else. But then you were talking about enhearten. And I'm like, that sounds like what I want to do for my character. So I went from 1 point to 2 in enhearten as well.
Nice.
So that way I'm better at that. And that should be 10 altogether.
I spent my points, but I don't remember what I did. I just marked some boxes and I counted it. I did give myself some swords.
Oh.
Swords. Oh, I think I got some more hunting because that seemed important.
That is great.
And then some other stuff that I don't remember because I didn't use a different color to mark it off.
Okay.
All right.
I'm also going to take 1 in travel because I'm metagaming. I know that it's helpful to have at least one of your party to have 1 in travel or something, because that's one of the, we talked about during the journey phase, there's the different roles you take on. And one of those is travel. Another one is hunting, Amelia. So that's great. Maybe your character is more predisposed to hunting or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So the next step, now that we've done our previous experience, is choosing our starting gear. Basically, like from our culture, we get a standard of living, but there's not really a sense of having gold to spend to get gear in this game. Basically, a starting hero can choose one weapon for each combat proficiency they have a rating in. And then you also can choose your sort of favorite selection of armor, helmets, and shields. You just get this essentially for free as part of being an adventurer.
That's great. I love games where you don't have money and then you forget to buy pants and then, like you spend it all and then you show up and everybody's like, what are you wearing? And you're like, oops.
Amelia the Pantsless.
Yep, that's
Hello. Your coming is foretold. And her legs are very cold.
All right. So
I'm just going to take a sword, I guess, right? Because I have swords. So I'll just take a wee sword.
It does say here, spear can be thrown.
Nice.
Just to answer that
Great.
question.
That's awesome.
One thing to bear in mind, so you can choose whatever armor you want for your character at this point, but keep an eye on the load rating for all of your everything you're acquiring.
I refuse.
So
Is this encumbrance?
you can. It's not. Well, it's sort of encumbrance. You can only take a load up to your endurance score, and if your endurance drops below the load that you're carrying, you become weary, which is like a capital W weary. And essentially, what weary means is that when you roll a success die, one of the D6s, if you roll a 1, 2, or 3, they count as a 0, which is kind of a pain in the butt.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. That happens. I have a character who has a lot of armor, and I always have to like put my helmet down because I get too winded all the time. I don't know if I've built. I gotta look at that again because I am always weary, man. Life is weary on the road. So you can take whatever armor you want. If I just like take like a leather shirt, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
One weapon for each combat proficiency. Ugh. Okay.
Okay. So I need a bow and a sword.
Are you going to name it? Tolkien loves to name weapons, right? That's so fun.
It would have to be a magical sword, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I could start with a magical sword off the bat.
Let's see. What do they have? Short sword, long sword. Sword.
There is, so we haven't gotten there yet, but one of the things that we'll do shortly is you'll get something called a reward. Everybody gets a starting reward. One of the options there is to sort of improve your weapon. So you could potentially have like a nicer sword, depending on what you choose later. So bear that in mind.
Okay, so I'm going to go with a great bow because you gotta have a great bow.
Heck yeah.
It has a load of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then a long sword because long swords are just cool when you're an elf.
Mm-hmm.
Load of 3, I think, on there.
So in addition to the war gear that you get, which are the weapons and armor that you have, your character also just gets traveling gear. This is just basically like your traveling kit. It doesn't need to be written down. It doesn't add any load, but this is just like, your normal clothes, your traveling clothes, blankets, the usual traveling stuff that you would have. And then in addition to that, your character also gets useful items. You get a number of useful items depending on the standard of living of your culture. There's a table that basically tells you sort of what standard of living each culture has. And these are useful items which your character has, which basically, if you can come up with, like when you make a skill check, if you can say a reason why this item would assist you in that skill check, you get an extra, 1 die.
Okay.
Could be like, I have elven rope. I'm going to make a climbing, I'm going to make it an athletics skill check to climb down from this cliff. Because I'm using my elven rope, I get 1 extra D6 when I make that roll.
So do we choose a useful item or or is that prescribed by?
So based on your culture, you get a number of them. So for the elves, they get 1 because their standard of living is frugal. Hobbits and men of Bree get 2 because their standard of living is common. And dwarves get 3 because their standard is prosperous.
Okay. Oh, nice. I love gear.
Yeah. There's a list of like examples on page 50, but it could be any useful item you can think of.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think elves have a standard of living of frugal?
That's right.
So that means I get a 1 for something.
Yes, you get 1 useful item.
A 1 useful item. Okay. And does that have anything to do with the armor? Because I was looking at the mail shirt, and that said, see standard of living requirements on page 100. But then I looked at page 100 and there wasn't anything there except for another table of weapons.
Oh no. Okay. I'm looking at page 100 now too. Okay. On page 100, there's an armor table and it says the minimum standard of living. So if you want to pick a male shirt, your minimum standard of living must be common. And if you want to pick a coat of mail, you have to be
and
prosperous.
coat of mail is prosperous.
So you can't have that.
Right.
I can't have that.
No.
Sad.
Eat more.
I guess leather corset it is. Or is that corselet? Corselet.
Leather corset is a different.
It's a very different thing, right?
And I think you get that for free as part of your traveling gear.
I'm pretty sure I have one. It's fine.
All right. I'm choosing a windproof lantern because that's great. And I like that it's windproof. That's helpful. And that will help my scan. And I'm also choosing a fine pipe to find comfort from Insight. Because, you had decided libations and whatnot, all the vices. Helps you feel better. Because I get 2 because I'm common. That's why I chose 2. Noise. We haven't calculated load, right? No, not yet.
Not yet. Although you can do that at this point because you've chosen your weapons and armor, you can calculate your load.
There's nothing else that goes into that?
Treasure would, but you, as a starting adventurer, you don't have any treasure.
I mean, what about the memories I carry with me, James?
What about the friends we made along the way?
Yeah.
They're very heavy.
Yeah.
So many friends.
I have so many friends. So wait, my load is only 3? I don't understand. Oh, wait, no. And 3 from my leather shirt. So 6 total? That's it?
Yeah.
I'm traveling light.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
just to put it into perspective, my warrior from Rohan has a load of 22. So he is. Wow, that's quite different. All right.
I think a lot of that came from your armor, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's 14.
So yeah, definitely keep your eye on that as you play.
You got a lot of weapons.
Don't get too sleepy. A weapon.
I'm between 2 things for a useful item. I only get 1, so that doesn't help. But either something to help my son or something to help my healing.
Oh man.
Well, I grabbed something to help my healing, so you should probably help your song.
I should help my son, yeah.
That seems important to your character.
Maybe like a tuning fork?
Like a pitch pipe.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Would I put that under rewards and virtues?
I think it goes up in gear, up in the upper right hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean upper right hand? I'm on the lower right hand. Traveling gear? That one? Where's
I'm using the fillable character sheet.
Yeah, the fillable sheet is slightly different.
Sorry, I'm on the paper one. Okay, I'm going to stick it in traveling gear.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that one has like some more spots than this one, but that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, for my dwarf, I got 3 because dwarves apparently are prosperous. So I chose dwarf liquor, which I figure can be used for enhearten. A dwarf made compass for travel, and then cleats to be worn when she climbs up and down rocks for athletics.
Nice.
Smart.
Oh, so here's the part where we calculate our load.
Yes.
So I just add up my load from my stuff that has load values?
Yes.
So 13. I don't think I need a shield.
Yeah, shields are interesting in this game. So armor gives you protection. Shields add to your parry, which makes it basically harder for the enemies to hit you.
Okay. Do I need a helmet?
I did not because it looked heavy.
It is pretty heavy, isn't it? It's a load of 4 on that.
Stupidly heavy.
Yeah. And I don't look good in hats.
We don't want to cover up that beautiful face.
That's fair.
Knob is not a hat person.
Yeah, I don't think Lorelyn would wear a helmet.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Too beautiful.
Yeah.
Too
Plus,
beautiful.
I don't think she sees herself as a warrior type.
Yeah.
More like I'm in over my head, but I need to do this because I need to help people because the shadow is coming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I may be good with a bow, but goodness gracious, don't put me on the front lines. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm very much like, my mom gave me a list and said, go to the store, and just got swept up along the way.
Okay, so after we've added our useful items and war gear, we do our load, which we just did. Okay. Oh, this is cool. Based on your standard of living, you may or may not get a horse. Horses in this game are, like, obviously horses are a big part of Tolkien, but they have a mechanical impact. They basically can carry treasure for you. And when we go on a travel, they reduce the amount of fatigue that you take. If your standard of living is poor or frugal, you can't afford a horse. So sorry, Ryan. If you're common, you bring an old horse or a half-starved pony. And if you're prosperous, you bring a decent horse.
Where do I write horse down? I'm going to put an old... Can I have an old pony? I don't want a half-starved pony. And I also don't want a horse because I'm too short. So can I go for an old pony?
I think you definitely can.
It's the old family pony.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to name her Pumpernickel.
I'd love to have an old
traveling
horse.
gear.
Me too. They seem gentle and sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe ornery. Who knows?
Maybe.
And this one doesn't have nightmares, Ryan.
I know.
Did you guys have a horse with nightmares?
We did. When we did Deadlands, you had to roll to give my horse a flaw of some kind. And so my horse had nightmares.
Oh,
yeah, horse nightmares.
That's adorable. Oh my gosh. Oh.
All right. So the next thing, and we're almost through here, but the next thing is you're starting Valor and Wisdom. So Valor is basically like your reputation. It's your status as a doer of great deeds. And Wisdom is your character's understanding and capability for good judgment. As you advance your character through the game, you can spend points to raise your Valor and your Wisdom. But as a starting character, you start with a 1 in Valor and a 1 in Wisdom. And every time you get a point of Valor or Wisdom, you get either a reward or a virtue. When you increase your Valor, you get rewards. And when you increase your Wisdom, you get virtues. Rewards are basically like good gear, like higher level gear. So remember before I was saying, well, you could have a named sword. If you take a reward that gives you an improvement to one of your weapons, it could be that because your weapon is nicer, it has a name. Virtues are unique abilities and special talents which are gained when you gain Wisdom. So if you go to page 51 in the book, because you get 1 Valor and 1 Wisdom, you guys each also get 1 starting reward and 1 starting virtue. And they're listed in the tables there on page 51.
So we just choose one of these, right?
That's right.
Or there are 6, so you could roll.
Could roll.
True.
Ooh. Wait, what? One each?
Yeah,
or...
you get 1 reward and
Gotcha.
1 virtue. And the rewards being, like close-fitting armor, armor that's like made in such a way that it reduces its load rating, fell on your, the fell quality on your weapon, which raises the injury rating of the weapon, or grievous, which raises the damage rating, or keen, which makes it easier to score a piercing blow, which is a mechanic in this game that basically instead of doing damage, like endurance damage, when you do a piercing blow, you can potentially inflict a wound on an enemy, which for lower level enemies is immediately fatal. Or you can improve your shield. And the starting virtues that you can get are stuff like confidence, which raises your hope. There's one, that lets you add to the damage that you inflict from your weapon, or raises your endurance, stuff like that. Basically, at this level, there's sort of generic improvements to your character.
Okay. I think I'm going to take close-fitting armor, which adds 2 to the result of a protection roll. for my reward. And then my virtue, I'm going to choose hardiness, raise my endurance by 2.
Ooh, I want to go with mastery. Choose 2 skills and make them favored.
That's awesome.
Which ones am I gonna pick?
Yeah, I was thinking about that one too, but I was also thinking about prowess.
Yeah, that could have a big impact. You reduce an attribute target number by 1.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Because there are really no other options to do that in this character creation, right? That's kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll go prowess.
Nice.
Reduce my heart from 16 to 15. So I'm now 15 across the board.
Oh.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, I picked keen for my axe, which means I have a piercing blow on a 9+. And I took prowess and I reduced my strength target number by 1. So my strength target number is now 12.
Wow.
Ooh,
yeah.
Super strong.
Super strong.
Mine's still 17.
Yeah.
Not strong.
I'm with you. I'm a 16, so I feel you. We'll stay in the back. We'll stay in the back. It's cool.
All right.
Yeah, I chose close fitting armor because I got to show off the curves.
I went with cunning make, so I could reduce how heavy my things are.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
I mean, the protection. It was the protection.
Yeah, right.
So at this point, that's the last step of individual character creation.
Ooh.
Now we have what I think is one of the cooler parts. So we've done all that. Now we get to do the company creation, which is where we talk about our group, which is super cool. So there are 4 things that happen in company creation. The first thing that we do is we choose a patron. Patrons are characters in the world who pay attention to, who take notice of our group. Sometimes will give us quests. Patrons work with the heroes from time to time. They may have their own agenda. Like, for instance, if you were to choose Gandalf as your patron, he's probably going to send you on quests. He may not tell you why he's sending you on quests, but they're probably quests that are intended to combat the shadow. Versus other patrons, which may not have an ulterior motive, but, just have sort of resources that they give you. Over the course of gameplay, you can get other patrons, just through interacting with characters in the world, but there are 6 starting patrons that we have to choose one of. Okay. And basically each patron will give you more or less fellowship points. We'll talk about fellowship points in a minute. They give you an advantage. They give everybody in the party an advantage. And each patron has an agenda, which sort of is what they're interested in. And we can use, if we have sort of an idea of what kind of things we're interested in doing, we can pick a patron that sort of aligns with the goals that we have as a party. Okay. So the starting patrons listed in the book are Balin, son of Fundin. So this is a dwarf, one of Thorin's company from The Hobbit. And his agenda is reclaiming lost strongholds, eliminating enemy lieutenants, etc. The next patron is Bilbo Baggins, and his agenda is recovering lost lore and lost things. The next one is Círdan the Shipwright, and his agenda is rekindling hope, preserving the lore of the ages. Next is Gandalf the Grey. His agenda is warning the free peoples and inspiring them to action. The next one is Gilrain, daughter of Deerhale, which I believe is, Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, this is Aragorn's mom. Yep, correct. And her agenda is fighting the enemy and defending the weak. And then the last patron is Tom Bombadil and Lady Goldberry. And their agenda is protecting the land and finding and preserving what was buried. So do any of those sound interesting to people?
Why can't I remember who Tom Bombadil and Lady Goldberry were? Yeah,
so Tom Bombadil, he's a tough one because they took him out of the movies, but he is this kind of very unknown, weird character who lives kind of outside the Shire in the woods. And the hobbits in the books come across him and his wife, Lady Goldberry, who is like a river. They call her the river daughter. She's like a weird spirit. And they are like lovely, but also weird and creepy. And they help the hobbits escape the Barrow Wights, like some scary ghosts that they find in the hills. Tom Bombadil is either you love him or you hate him.
He's a very controversial figure.
Yes.
Yes. Even in Athrabeth, like Jude hates him and I love him. And he talks like, oh, be Bombadillo. I am Tom Bombadillo. Blah. He like talks to horses. He is like your weird nature hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's either a hippie or he's an incredibly powerful ancient god.
Right. That's the thing. You don't know, and Tolkien didn't really know either. So
that's amazing.
People debate what he is. Is he a god? I don't know, because he can handle the ring and isn't affected by it, which is very weird.
Him.
And
I love him
too. Agreed. He's so weird.
He's great. It's just like there's like all this serious stuff happening, and then there's also Tom Bombadil, which like is like I mean, it's like clear why he's not in the movies, because like tonally he's just like doing his own thing. But I think that we all somewhere in our lives have met a Tom Bombadil somewhere, and like
an enigma.
He's just relatable. Like I get him.
I love that. Yeah. That's great.
And Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, didn't Tolkien create Tom Bombadil as like a children's story that he would like tell to his kids, and then he like inserted him into the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, he definitely has that sort of fairy fan fiction, like just old man in the forest kind of vibe going on. And he was definitely like sort of for his, like a nod for his children. And so I think like, I feel like in the appendix of Peter Jackson's movies, we hear them saying that they sort of took elements of Tom Bombadil and some of his like more beautiful lines from the books and gave it to like Treebeard the Ent and other people who kind of are on the same wavelength, which I like too. So so unfortunately he's not in the movies, but he is a really weird character in the books.
It's great.
And this patron that we're choosing is a patron for all of us, right?
Yes. This is a patron for our company.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like, that means that there's not really a clear, because of all the other choices that we made, it doesn't feel like there's like a clear, like, obviously this one.
Yeah.
It could be like, anyone.
I mean, we've got one that favors two callings, the champion and warden, but there's also warden and treasure hunter. And those are the only two. So it's Gilrian, daughter of Diriel, and Tom Bombadil and Lady Gilbury. Those are the only two that have matching callings
with us,
for the most people in our group.
Do either of their agendas speak to what we're interested in?
I mean, I think so. I would say don't worry as much about the favored callings because I feel like in our own games, like I've never, maybe we're not doing it right, but I've never really used that or even really heard of that. So, I mean, this is really more of a framing device, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a mechanic there. I think it's basically to say like, Balin Sundafundan has captain and champion as his favorite callings because I think that he's a little bit more of a straightforward, more martial character. Versus like Tom Bombadil, who is, forest hippie. So warden, protecting behind the scenes, and treasure hunter makes sense in those cases. Yeah. I think these are all just sort of intended to, guide the party in a direction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So basically, what do we want to do as part of our adventures?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I feel like if some of us are like not super into fighting and stuff, like then why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Like what important thing happened that made us be like, okay, I guess I have to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like Gandalf is a very good catch-all. Warn the free peoples and inspire them to action. That's that's kind of.
I also feel like if Gandalf comes and tells you to do something, you kind of like have to.
Yeah,
you take notice.
Like I don't think that you really get a whole lot of choice there.
Yeah,
it would be cool to have Gandalf as a patron if we were to play this, because then you get to interact with Gandalf a lot.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should go with. I think that makes the most sense.
That sounds great.
Let's do that. Perfect. Okay. Yay.
We'll sneak into Gandalf's chamber and steal his notes on the rain and
and then take an eagle to Mount Doom and just get this whole thing settled.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Controversial. Don't even get us started.
All right. Just drop it at the right point.
We've got our patron. So the next thing we choose is our safe haven. This is a location that works as like our starting base of operations, and potentially, if we're playing a game that's sort of localized in one area, where we return to after our adventures to recover and rest and sort of do our fellowship phases. One of the places that they suggest is, in Bree, the Prancing Pony is a great option, or someplace in Bree, because Bree is a very central location in Eriador, which I think makes sense for this party. But, if we want it to be something different or unique, we can, obviously choose something else.
And the Prancing Pony, for those who might not be super Tolkien-y, is you see it in the movies. That's where the hobbits go in Bree, and that's where they meet Aragorn, and the scary Nazgul come to find them. It's very scary. So just like a nice inn. I mean, that totally works for me. I like that. It works with Amelia being from Bree, and it's also at the crossroads, so it'll fast travel us to certain places, which is nice.
Yeah.
Right. And Amelia, you said your character doesn't want to travel that much.
Right.
So like,
I feel like this is where I would be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we know Gandalf knows where it is, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He's no stranger to the Prancing Pony. So that's perfect. Let's do that.
Okay, perfect. And then there are two sort of mechanical aspects of our company. So the next one is the fellowship rating. Basically, the fellowship rating is a numerical value, which gives us a pool of points, which we all share, which we can use each session to regain hope. We can spend a point of fellowship to recover a point of hope, essentially. These refresh every session. So it sort of incentivizes us to use hope, because we know that we'll be able to recover it. And then, next session we'll have our fellowship rating restored, so we can have points of hope to spend then. And basically the fellowship rating is calculated by counting the number of players that we have and then adding any bonus we get from our patron. So 4 players plus a +2 from Gandalf. So our fellowship points are 6. That's our fellowship rating.
6. That makes sense.
Does that go under fellowship score then in the sheet?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in some cases, there are virtues or cultural blessings, which may add to our fellowship bonus, but I don't think any of us have anything that does that at this point. And then the last thing is the fellowship focus. And the fellowship focus will be something that each of us has. And it's basically another character in the party that we feel a particular bond with. It could be a best friend bond. It could be a romantic bond. It could be a bond of respect, for somebody who looks up to another character. But basically, we're all tied together as part of this company, but each character has another person in the party with whom they feel a particular affinity. When a player hero makes a support action, like gives support to their fellowship focus, basically, at any point, we can use, if we have an appropriate skill, we can support another player making a skill check. That gives them an extra 1d6. But if you're supporting your fellowship focus, they get an extra, they get 2d6 to their roll. But if your fellowship focus is wounded, suffers a bout of madness, or is otherwise seriously harmed, you gain a point of shadow that you can't negate. So basically, like when your buddy gets stabbed, you feel it too. It darkens your outlook.
Oof.
The book says too, I really like this part for your fellowship focus. It could also be someone who, it's like an empathy thing where it's like someone you sort of pity if they're like way weaker than you, like someone you feel you have to take care of. So it could be like a positive friend, but also sort of like this weakling needs me thing, which I like.
Yeah.
Now, do you share, James? Do you say who your fellowship focus is? Or do you keep it secret? What do you do?
I don't think it says one way or the other. I think it makes sense to say who our fellowship focuses are and why we would have a focus, like why they would be our fellowship focus.
Especially since we're not going to be playing these characters.
True.
Yeah, true. Although we should do a one shot and have it on Athrabeth where we play these characters. Cool. I'm gonna choose, if it's okay, I would like to choose Amelia, because I feel like as someone from Bree and I'm from not far off in Hobbiton, we probably have known each other a while.
Yeah.
And I think also, you're not really wanting to go out, and hobbits are the same. So I feel like we're kindred spirits.
I was going to pick you too, so I feel like that makes sense.
Aw, yay.
I forgot. What is your character's name?
Her name is Gilly Goodbody. She, her.
Yes.
Knob, my fellowship.
And players are free to choose anybody as their fellowship focus, even someone who's already been chosen by someone else. So if we so that's fine.
So whose character wants to be my secret crush?
Ooh.
Cute. Man.
Because like any of you three would be like amazing in different ways.
I feel like almost it has to be the dwarf because elves and dwarves have such a weird
I was thinking
background.
The same thing. Yep.
Yeah, I would think it would be so lovely. I feel like your gal is so Gen Z, like open to everything. Like we can do it. We're gonna, yay! We're gonna do the world. So that would be great. That she's so forward thinking to love a dwarf.
Mm-hmm. But she keeps it secret because there's that traditional elf dwarf headbutting. So like her culture is ingrained in her brain, and she's got kind of conflicting feelings about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's not out to her family yet.
Right.
And I think that Drifa's, so my character's fellowship focus would be Laura Lynn, because she has completely friend zoned Laura Lynn. They're best buddies, but she does not have romantic feelings that she's aware of.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
I love it so much.
Oh, my heart.
All right. I mean, and so now, having chosen our fellowship focuses, we have essentially completed character creation. Like, that was the last step.
We did it.
Wonderful.
Yay!
Yay, us. Go team.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's not super complicated. It's not
a
super
lot of like
crunchy.
picking things, but like you still end up with, something really satisfying, even just picking things from lists. Like,
yeah.
And varied.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've got a really good handle on who this person is. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Amazing.
Thank you both so much for joining us for the One Ring character creation episodes. This was so much fun.
Mm.
Thank you. This has been the best. You guys are so fun. It's such an honor to be on your show. I love your show. And this is just like, I could not be more stoked to be here. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sad that we're not going to get to do anything. I say that every time. Like, I'm sad that we don't get to like play with these characters, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
We'll have to wrangle Jude as
he can
GM
run
or
it
something.
because he didn't make a character.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's start with Stef. Do you want to remind everybody where they can find you online and what you're up to?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Stef Midlock. I am from the Athrabeth Podcast. You can find us on the web at podcast.athrabeth.com. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Athrabeth_cast. So come here for all your Tolkien jokes and dunking on characters that we think are lame. It's really fun. And you can find me, if you're interested in myself, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the North Floor, FOUR. And my co-host Jude is Eremitic Jude.
And James, where can people find you and what are you up to?
Yeah, so I can be found on Twitter at Pierson, Pierson. I can be found editing Athrabeth and GMing. I think we're going to do a third Hobbitween episode for this October, so I'll be GMing that one. And I'm also in early pre-production on an actual play podcast, so keep an eye on my Twitter for when that drops.
Ooh, very cool.
Ooh.
And in your spare time, being married to Stef.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Third priority behind podcasts and GM.
Yeah, right.
Oh, boy.
Well, thank you again. And thank you to everybody for listening. Please join us on the next episode for our discussion block. Call to action.
Yeah, like that. I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch the One Ring? Or the Rings of Power.
The Rings of Power. We saw the first episode, and the mention of Linden, like right away, I was like, I know about that. I know about these elves crossing the ocean.
I heard about that.
Nice.
I did watch both episodes. there'll be a new one out now by the time this episode comes out, because they come out on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed them. It had, like it was a lot of what I liked about the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really intrigued to see what happens, to see where it goes.
I'm very interested in seeing where it goes, and I am watching the movie now while also thinking about like how to implement these characters in this game.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, well, we've got Elves of Linden, we've got, the dwarves, and we've got these new flavor of hobbits, which I'm really enjoying.
Yeah. It's really exciting to like see parts of it that just aren't the usual, like, I don't know. I don't want to be like the same stuff as always, because there's a lot going on. Yeah. But it is cool just to see some of the like sort of lesser trod parts of the Legendarium. I'm enjoying it. I also was like a huge Tolkien nerd. So.
Yeah, and I can easily see a lot of people getting inspired by this show to actually want to play the game. And from what we're hearing, like the One Ring, especially this version, is like one of the best systems to play. Yeah, this sort of adventure in these sorts of characters, and that makes me even more excited, wanting to actually dive into play this. So yeah, it was a perfect timing for this game. So absolutely, and we planned that for real. We did. We did actually a little bit. We actually were a little bit on top of it, but yeah. It just only mildly landed in the right place at the right time. It did. Absolutely. But I'm going to take credit for it anyway. There you go. But before we let you go for the week, we do have some calls to action. First up, our review bin is empty at the moment. I keep checking. Nothing new has been there for a while. We would love to hear what you think about the show. I have been actually seeing that we've been trending in various countries around the world, including pretty consistently the Philippines, South Korea lately as well. Canada, of course, Austria is a name that's up there now. Spain. And recently we hit number 3 in the games category in South Africa. And I think we're still doing pretty well in that category in South Africa. Cool. Which is really cool. So welcome to all you amazing listeners from around the world. It's actually really exciting to see that there's enthusiasm for our show outside of the U.S., and we would really love to hear from you. Whether you want to leave a review in English or not, we'd still be thrilled. We do see reviews from all countries on Apple Podcasts, so no worries about us not catching it. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. You can also leave reviews on Podcast Addict if you're on Android, or Podchaser from pretty much any device with a browser. Every review helps us out and really makes our day whenever we come across a new one. I mean, and we could also attempt to read reviews that are in other languages. We could try. Absolutely. If they're in Spanish, I can for sure read them. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So other possible ways of helping us out, and we are in definite need of some people to pick this option for us, would be backing us on Patreon. Mm-hmm. We've been a little bit slow in adding extra bonus content lately. Thank you to everyone who is still backing us anyway. I have been undergoing medical procedures for the last 6 weeks, undergoing some anesthesia 3 times a week. It's super fun. It's my favorite new hobby. It's not. I don't like it. But hopefully that will make me feel better, which will mean that we can put things out more regularly. And we'll be able to have more bonus content for you on a regular basis, higher quality content, because I will not feel like garbage all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to being done with this. It's going to be great. Absolutely. Nowhere to go but up. But because that personal stuff is winding down, we should be able to get more stuff in there. So
for those of you who are backing us at the $5 and up level, you will have access to all of that bonus content as part of our secret archive. So that has bonus recordings that we do. Sometimes it's Ryan and I playing microgames. Sometimes it is early release episodes as Ryan edits them. Sometimes it is bonus outtakes. That is for everybody at the $1 and up level. Mm-hmm. So all kinds of good stuff in there that we're hoping to get more and more of now that I am feeling like a human. Mm-hmm. So absolutely check out our Patreon at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. If you have the ability to spare a little bit toward helping us afford all the added costs of making this super awesome show that we are very passionate about. One of the perks, too, is that we will thank you personally right in one of our closings. Like right now, like we're going to do right now. Mm-hmm. This part right here.
I'm ready.
You too could be a part of this. We would love to add your name to the list. So, just think about it. What would it sound like if my favorite podcaster read my name out loud on every episode? Well, it would sound like this if this was one of your names. Thank you, Lieutenant, for your continued support as our first ever patron.
Mm-hmm. And Eric Bunce, thank you as well for your continued support.
Yes, Eric, I saw your photos of your family at Ren Fair this last weekend, and you all were adorable, and I just want you to know that. It's my very personal call out. You all looked very cute. David, aka Tigranosaurus, thank you so much for your support.
Matt Newton, thank you as well.
Daryl Holiday II, thank you for your support.
Shadim Cabal, thank you as well.
To the Shyest Barbarian, thank you so much for all of your support.
Benjamin Sweeney, thank you.
Lorcan McGinnis, thank you so much.
Rob Fletcher, thank you so much.
And Kevin Brown, thank you so much.
And thank you to all of our future patrons. We wouldn't be able to make this show as easily without your assistance, and we truly appreciate your generosity. Coming soon, we'll actually have another bonus actual play of the both of us playing a game called Summer Break, where we play as kids fighting a monster from our own tree fort. This one was really this one was super delightful. Just a fun, quick game that I think I would play again. Given
it
the
was
chance.
Cute. I loved it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm.
That is all we have for today's episode. Next week, we get into our discussion with Stef and James and some really phenomenal fanfic as usual. It's a really good episode. These are just so much fun to record.
So good.
So until then, stay safe, everyone. Drink some water, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, take some deep breaths, keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Amelia Antrim, and I can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning, or on my other podcast, Garbage of the Five Rings. Our other host, Ryan Bolter, can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast it originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by the absolutely fantastic Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game system used in today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, extra outtakes, and much, much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, We find the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time. Now we gotta read some show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you'll find other great shows like Campaign.
Campaign Skyjacks takes place in an original setting inspired by folktales and classic adventure fiction. James D'Amato leads Liz Anderson, John Patrick Cohen, Tyler Davis, Johnny O'Mara, and, in recent episodes, Nathan Blades, as they tell a tale of daring sky pirates, giant birds, and the terror of a cursed sea. It's funny, dramatic, and at times emotionally devastating. Search for Campaign Skyjacks or James D'Amato on iTunes, Google Play, or your favorite podcast app.